My name is Quinteria Perry, and this is my CVCC story. I've graduated from CVCC with my associates in medical assistant, and I received my certification from CVCC. The training that I got from CVC and being prepared to come and do clinicals helped tremendously. I started looking at scholarships, and the Ambassador Scholarship was interesting to me because you did events to earn your scholarship and you meet people. My favorite part about my job is meeting patients every day. They will crack me up every day. They make my day better. I would recommend CVCC to anyone that asks because of the scholarships, the teachers, the small stuff that you can't get at a university. They actually take the time out for each student.
We're hammering down high prices at Glynn Smith GMC in Opelika. New full-size GMC Sierras discounted up to $12,500 off. GMC Terrains with a roomy cabin and pro safety discounted $6,500 off. Enjoy your holidays with no payments until February. Choose from over 500 new and used on the lot or on the way. GlynnSmith.com. Get ready to smile. We're hammering down high prices at Glynn Smith GMC in Opelika. New full-size GMC Sierras discounted up to $12,500 off. GMC Terrains with a roomy cabin and pro safety discounted $6,500 off. Enjoy your holidays with no payments until February. Choose from over 500 new and used on the lot or on the way. GlynnSmith.com. Get ready to smile. We're
and we're going to start that off first. We got a great show for you. I got Mike G from the War Rapport in the building. We're going to be talking college football. I don't know if many people, unless you're living under a rock, they already came out with a playoff format. They already came out with the seedings. We're going to get into that. Bill Belichick is deciding that he wants to coach 18-year-olds at 73. He didn't even like coaching 25, but now he's going to coach 18-year-olds. We'll get into that in just a moment. And then later on in the show, me and Rich are going to digest everything that's happened locally on Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. So we are thankful for Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC here in Opelika. They have over 600 cars, new and used, on the lot right now. Come take a test drive and see the giant inventory and see why everybody leaves with a smile. And you can go to glynsmith.com, and that is Glyn. Don't think Glen. I did too when I was hearing it on the radio. It is Glynn, Smith.com. All right, Mike G, how you been, man? And how's everything going for you?
It's going great. Look, man, it seems like you and I are doing a lot of segments everywhere together these
Right.
days. I know it's the holiday season, so happy holidays and safe travels to everybody out there. But happy holidays to all the teams traveling to bowl games so far. Look, bowl picks were made. You mentioned the 12-team playoff. I thought it went well. I thought that the committee got it right this year. In terms of the teams that they picked, the conference champions looked good to me. A lot of conference runner-ups made it. So, we'll see how it fleshes out. But I think this will be an entertaining 12-team playoff.
Yeah, most sure on that. And some of the things we're going to talk about is we're going to talk Georgia. Who's the favorite right now? I think we're both kind of leaning Bulldogs. We'll get into that. Did Alabama get snubbed? I know a lot of people feel that way. And then what does Auburn need to do to be one of those teams that's even in the mix? I'm not even talking about winning a national championship, Mike. I'm just talking about being in the mix, being in the conversation. What's the most entertaining matchup? And who is Mike G's Heisman favorite? If you had to put all your money on the line and you're listening to Mike G, so if you end up losing a lot of money, you know who to blame now.
No pressure.
We're going to find out who his favorite is and more. We also presented by Pepsi. Thank you to Buffalo Rock. Also thank you to Gordy Eye Care. Me and producer Chrissy were there today shooting a commercial. Looking forward to getting that up. And we appreciate Griff Gordy and Gordy Eye Care for being the official eye care of Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. And he made mention, we did a segment earlier this week on Sports Visions, 4 to 6 p.m., 92.1 Smooth R&B. I got to make it mention now, tomorrow, 11:30, 100 kids from 25 different schools are going to be in a huge, what is, Richard, now I'm completely forgetting, where's the History Center?
Yes.
Holy smokes, I had a brain fart right there. Sorry, DJ. St. Luke Ministry Center. It's going to have all the coaches. It's going to have a ton of dignitaries. Looking forward to it. It's the biggest awards luncheon we have in our area by far. DJ has grown, him and Dale, over the last 20 years. I'm so thankful to be a part of it. That's tomorrow at 11:30. You can watch it on Sports Visions and on Georgia Alabama Sports Live if you're not able to make it. All right, Mike, I guess, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Auburn? I'm going to let you, since you're the guest, you want to start Belichick? Where do you want to go?
We can start with Auburn.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that it's been portal season is about to open, and there are a lot of names being mentioned. I think most of all, everybody wants to know who Auburn's going to go get at quarterback. Yep. Right now, the names being mentioned, Ashton Daniels, quarterback out there at Stanford, is visiting on Thursday. I don't think he's a contender to be a starter. I think he'll be more of a depth piece. But Holden Gerner has gotten in the portal. Hank Brown's in the portal. Peyton Thorne's gone. Right now, the only scholarship quarterback you truly have on the roster is Walker White, with Deuce Knight coming in. We'll see if he'll be an early enrollee. But the name I think to watch right now is Malik Murphy. This was a former Texas quarterback, guys, that transferred to Duke. He played there last year, had a pretty good season. But I think he is the type, prototypical quarterback that Hugh Freeze needs in the system. He's athletic. He can throw the deep ball well. And with the receivers that Auburn has coming back, I'm talking Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, and there's the number one kid in the portal right now is looking at Auburn. He's a wide receiver from Georgia Tech. Singleton. Yep. He'll be coming in as well too, I think. So we'll see how they do with that. But they're going to be loaded at receiver again. They just need a guy. They need a trigger man. They need a guy to get on the ball right now. And I think Malik Murphy, if they want him, they're going to drop the dollars and they're going to get him.
Yeah, and I'm making mention of Malik Murphy. He had a pretty decent start to his career at Texas. He ended up losing his starting job once Steve Sarkisian came in.
It was just crowded.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talent there. But at Duke, people don't know, 9 wins this year under Manny Diaz, and he was the quarterback, so he's coming in with experience. I think he's a good option. Here's another one that just hit the portal today, Fernando Mendoza from California. I don't know if you remember him. He came in and gave it to Auburn this year. Maybe he could be someone. He threw for 3,000 yards. He threw for over 20 touchdowns. And he's only a sophomore, too, redshirt sophomore. Would he be something that you'd be interested in, or do you think Auburn has more of a higher ceiling type
No,
guy?
I think that if you're going to go with a guy that has multiple years of eligibility left with Deuce Knight coming in, he better be a home run. I don't think Fernando's a home run. Yeah. I think Malik is a home run. And again, Jackson Arnold is another name that they're looking at.
Yeah, but then he lost his job, too, at Oklahoma. You think that was more about the system than it was about Jackson's talent?
Former 5-star quarterback. So just remember, this is a guy everybody wanted right out of high school.
Yeah. Reason why Dylan Gabriel left, because this guy was getting an opportunity.
Right, yeah. So, is this the right system? I saw some articles from some respected journalists that said they expect him to maybe land up at Mississippi State. So we'll see what happens there. But to me, Malik's the guy. If you got to hit a home run, Malik's the guy. That's the guy that's going to get fans excited. It's going to get boosters excited. It's going to get the people with the money excited. They spent, I think it's safe to say now, they spent about $400,000 on Peyton Thorne.
Yes,
right?
Did.
And so with that money comes expectations. You cannot, this is semi-pro football now with NIL. If you're going to spend that type of money, there's going to be a strong lean toward the guy that you put the money behind. Right. Malik Murphy is the next guy. Now, look, Deuce Knight is getting a sizable NIL package. You know, again, you don't get the top 30 kid to commit without money behind it. But also, he understands that he's got to catch up to the college game. We know that Hugh Freeze's system is not an easy one for quarterbacks to absorb, so it takes some time. And I think he'll be willing to sit for a year and then be the guy in 2026. But we'll see where it goes. Walker White's going to want to start next year, so he's going to want to compete for the job. If you're Hugh Freeze, I don't know if you can put your future in Walker White's hands next year unless he makes a sizable jump this spring. If he's the best guy, he's the best guy. And if he ends up winning the job, I think that would say a lot about him. But it's going to be an interesting quarterback battle. You got to hit a home run in the portal. I can't stress that enough.
100%.
Malik Murphy is the home run that they need.
Yeah, and we already saw what they did with early signing period being a top 6 class according to 247, which I think that's pretty much what a lot of people rely on when talking about recruiting. So I respect their site. Auburn's got the influx of young talent, but now you need some experience with that young talent, because you saw young talent just doesn't win you games alone, as you saw with the 5-7 year last year with Auburn. All right, let's move on from Auburn, because I hate the negativity, and we beat it like a dead horse almost, talking about Hugh Freeze and everything that is going on with him these last 2 years. I want to talk about Alabama because I know this fires you up too. When I saw the rankings come out, I marked down a few things.
Sure.
One of them was not Alabama being snubbed. I honestly didn't have a huge problem with it. I'm going to start there with you, and then we'll talk about some of the other things that I may have a problem with, see if you did. Alabama getting left out over SMU. Semantics, are you okay with the way the committee left them out?
100%. Because if you're Alabama, your destiny was in your hands. You don't get completely skull-drugged by Oklahoma, and you're in this playoff.
Right.
That's it. This is bottom line.
You could even lose to Vanderbilt, and you still would
But
probably
you're
be
still
hosting
in,
a game.
right? Yeah. I mean, you don't score a touchdown versus Oklahoma. You don't have a case for the playoffs. You just don't.
Yeah.
This is Kalen DeBoer's Alabama. This is not Nick Saban's Alabama. So the Saban bump doesn't exist for you. He's in a prove-it mode. He's got to prove that he can live up to Saban's legacy, or at least maintain 80 to 90% of it. 3 losses for Alabama, man. We haven't seen that since 2010.
Yeah.
Right? So you're talking about something that hasn't happened in 14 years, and he's done it. And I'll tell you, you don't want me to talk about all the other things that he's done that hasn't happened there in the last 14 to 17 years.
Right.
But look, at the end of the day, Alabama was in control of their destiny. This wasn't a subjective argument at the end of the day. You finish 10-2, you're in. Same for Ole Miss. Like, I mean, you and I talk about this all the time. Lane Kiffin flubbed it, man. He had the easiest 6-game start to his schedule as anybody could have hoped for, and he lost to Kentucky. He lost to Kentucky, Thrift.
Yeah.
So after that, what does he do? He scores a big win over Georgia. He gets over the hump, and then he invents another hump to not get over.
Losing
Come
to
on,
Florida,
man.
right?
This guy's just mediocre.
Yeah.
You're mediocre as a coach.
Yeah.
This was the year. If he can't make it this year, I don't know what you do with what he's doing there. So these teams, Missouri, same thing. These guys were in control of their own destiny. Our friend Heather Dinich at ESPN, I have her on my show often, she said she felt like the SEC had a chance to get 5 teams into this first playoff. The opportunity was there for them. But the 3 that missed it, they missed obvious opportunities to make it. We could have gotten 5 teams as a conference into this playoff. Alabama completely flubbed this one, and it's on them. It's not on the committee, and you can't complain about who got in over you.
No, and I'll tell you this. The only side of the argument that I can hear, if you're talking about ratings, obviously I would rather watch Penn State, Alabama, in that Beaver Stadium whiteout. That would be crazy.
Sure.
And a lot of people would tune in for that. But that is not how you pick the best teams. And there is no way that you can make an argument that Alabama is just better than SMU. Now, I know Vegas would probably say that they're the odds-on favorite if they were on a neutral field to beat SMU. But you lost to not 1 but 2 6-6 teams this year. I can't hear the argument. You can't do what Nick Saban did. And you're saying, I know, remember a couple years ago in 2022, lost to A&M, lost to LSU. He's saying we should have been in as a 2-loss team. In 2022, they end up getting left out. That was the year that TCU ended up making it Ohio State. And many people, and Nick Saban saying, we're one of the best teams in the country. We got to be in here. I can't hear that from Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah.
And now you're arguing as a 9-3 team. I'm not hearing it, Mike. And I don't really feel bad for Alabama fans getting left out. Like you said, it's their own fault they're not in there. You can't say you're one of the best teams when you lost to 2 teams that are very inferior.
If you're going to be a 3-loss team and make this playoff, you better be a conference champion. That's the bottom line.
Or
right? Yeah.
let me ask you this. What if it would have been they lost to Ole Miss, they would have lost to Georgia, and then they would have lost to, I don't know, LSU, and maybe LSU went 8-4. Would it have been different if they lost to teams that had 9 or 10 wins and they were 9-3 and still had that win over a good program, or didn't matter? As a 9-3 team, it's hard for you to put in over an 11-2 SMU team.
Yeah, look, if you want the respect of being Alabama, you have to take the pressure that comes along with that. There's a downside.
Yeah.
And it's when you lose the teams that you're not supposed to lose to, it hurts you just as much as it helps you.
Right.
And so they've just got to win those games. Again, 9-3 is going to put any team on the bubble and open to that subjective argument of whether you belong or not.
No.
If you're SMU, you made your conference title game and you only lost 2 games, and I think they deserve to be in.
Yeah.
If we're going to say, oh, well, Alabama would have been a better matchup in ratings and all that, okay, just don't pretend like the body of work during the season matters if that's what you're going to do. Right? And that's what the 12-team playoff was supposed to avoid. It's supposed to eliminate that argument, Thrift.
Right.
And so I think they got that right. And if you're Alabama, again, you had your chance to make this playoff. It wasn't subjective if you beat Oklahoma.
Right.
You didn't.
And honestly, I even think if they had lost to Oklahoma maybe in overtime, they may have a little bit better of an argument, and maybe the committee would consider them. But the fact that they got beat 24-3, they couldn't even get a touchdown against a team that went 6-6 this year and made them like the best defense in the country. Please talk about Georgia. You've been high on them all year.
Yes.
Are they? And we don't have to talk about their body of work and everything they were able to accomplish. Obviously, this is his least talented team in the last 3 or 4 years. In talking about Kirby Smart, yet they're in a position to win a national championship. Are they your favorite right now?
They are.
With it being the least talented team in the last 3 or 4 years.
They have a favorable path, and I like their path. But winners win, and Kirby Smart knows how to win. They've been here before. I had no doubt they were going to win that SEC championship game. They made it interesting, certainly, and it's very difficult to beat the same team twice in one season. We saw 2004 Auburn do this. They beat Tennessee, a really good Tennessee team, twice in one season. I feel like the loser has the upper hand, because the winner falls into the trap of thinking, well, we beat you doing this the first time. If
we don't have to change.
Yeah, we don't have to make adjustments. Look, man, they adjusted. They won a tight one in Atlanta. It's practically a home game for them. And from what we know, we argued this on Sports Visions, right? The turnout wasn't as great for Texas fans as, our friend thought it might be.
Yeah.
And fans are faced with that reality. Like, you knew Texas was making the playoff anyway. So am I spending a bunch of money to travel to Atlanta?
I've had so many people that went to the game, Mike, that said there's a lot of empty seats. And I'm talking about Georgia fans that, in the Columbus area, and multiple people were posting that, Mike. And that was kind of a shock to me, to be honest with you. I know what you're saying about making the playoff, but it's your first year in the biggest conference, the best conference. You would think they would make that drive then. It's not like this has been a reoccurring thing. Like, you know what? We ain't got to go to Atlanta this year. We're in Atlanta every year. This is the first time you've been in the SEC. That didn't make any sense to me if you're a Texas fan.
Inflation is undefeated.
A lot of money.
Yeah. Look, man, I mean, gas prices, food prices. I mean, people are making decisions about where to spend their money. Again, know they're making the playoff. You probably want to go see a national title game or a semifinal game, and you're not wasting the money to travel from Texas to Georgia, when you know they're making the playoff. Now, look, so many years in the past, the SEC championship was a play-in to the playoff.
Yep.
The winner makes the playoff. This year, it was a given. Both teams are making it, no matter what happens, right? Yeah. So I think it took some of the luster off of it, right? And it didn't seem like a can't-miss opportunity for Texas fans. Look, we'll be there again. Maybe we'll catch the next one. Maybe we see Commissioner Sankey move that SEC championship game from Atlanta to try to be fair to Texas and Oklahoma fans, who that's a tough trip for.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. I'm thinking he wants to get that in Dallas. Jerry's World.
He'll give it a shot.
Be a fan of Arkansas in the SEC.
What a great venue, too.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
there's no doubt they're gonna try to
if
make
you had
that
to move it, that's the spot.
Exactly right. But you said Georgia having the easier path. I'm with you, man. And for those that didn't look at the bracket, Georgia being the number 2 seed, they got to play the winner of Indiana Notre Dame. I saw someone from ESPN saying Notre Dame was going to upset Georgia and make it a national title. I don't care if Notre Dame's 11-1. There's no way you're thinking they're going to beat Georgia this year. I think they and Penn State have the easiest bracket, and I'm mentioning Penn State because Georgia ended up playing Penn State in that semifinal. So they would have to play winner of Indiana, Notre Dame, and then Penn State. You think that's easier than Texas having to go through Oregon and Oregon having to go through the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee? You like that side of the bracket?
I do like that side of the bracket. Now, the idea that Notre Dame might upset Georgia.
Are you on that?
No, I'm not on that.
Come on.
Now, with Carson Beck hurt, okay, I see maybe how that opens up that argument, but a healthy Georgia versus Notre Dame right now, how many times does Kirby Smart have to take belt to ass before people will give him the credit, man?
Come on, man.
Come on, dude. Like, they had 2 bad halves of football this year.
Yep.
That was it. I understand that the floor for this Georgia team is a little bit lower than it has been in years past, but they're still chock full of 5 stars. And if if I'm picking their 5 stars versus Kirby's 5, I'm picking the guys who have been there before, and they're the new Alabama, man. They're the new Kings, and if you want to prove that you're the best, you got to go through Georgia. You got to go through Athens. So I don't see it. They're going to come up with a game plan. They'll get Gunnar Stockton ready if he's going to be the trigger man for that game. But they've got time. Thrift. They've got time to get healthy and figure out how. And if you're going to give Kirby Smart a couple of weeks to game plan, I like the Dogs.
And we can't act like it's never happened before. Cardale Jones was a third stringer for Ohio State and went all the way to the national title.
3 wins as a starter.
3 wins.
But the three most important wins that they had all season.
And really helped cement Urban Meyer's legacy as an all-time coach, because if he didn't win that national title, you got to start talking about Urban Meyer, maybe it being a little bit overrated. But now having that national title, you got Ohio State fans wanting him. He's literally having to come out right now and say, I'm not coming back to coach at Ohio State. I believe in Ryan Day. I don't know why he felt like he had to do that if he's not even lost his job yet. So why are you saying you don't want a job that's not even open? But that's neither here nor there. Looking at this bracket, what's the most entertaining matchup in the first round? Let's just talk first round. We don't have to kind of project it out. We can talk about that as it comes along. Is it Ohio State, Ohio State, Tennessee, or is it Indiana, Notre Dame? Because I don't think Penn State, SMU, and I don't think Texas or Clemson, I don't feel like they're in that same category, because I feel like Tennessee, Ohio State are top 8 teams, and I also feel like Indiana, Notre Dame is the storylines behind it. So you've got the 2 best teams in the first round, Tennessee, Ohio State, aside from Texas, I'll say 2 of the top 3 teams in the first round, or you got Indiana, Notre Dame, and the storyline of South Bend being in Indiana and them, that rivalry that never get played.
I think it's Clemson, Texas.
So it's not the 2 I just said.
No, I think it's Clemson, Texas. I think if you're Texas and you get beat by Dabo Swinney, right?
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, I think that is a failure of a season for them. You lose to Georgia twice, you lose the SEC championship, and then you get bounced in the first round. Texas has a lot on the line here in this first round. If they can't get out of the first round, they're going to avoid Georgia or Penn State in the next round, right? So, but I think this was as tough as a first-round pull as they could have had. So, and then you've got a surging Arizona State team waiting on you, right? Cameron Scadaboo, I don't know if you've watched him.
He's a baller now.
Yeah, he's a baller. And I cover UCF, so UCF played Arizona State without Scadaboo. The door was open. They ended up losing that game. But this is a team that has nothing to lose. If you're Arizona State, you have nothing to lose here, right? Nobody expected you to be here. Look, if you look at the Big 12, what the media picked for the Big 12, it was a mess threat. They picked Utah to win that conference, and Utah finished dead last.
4-8.
Right, yeah. The top 3 teams that they picked, the media picked, finished bottom 3 in the Big 12 this year. It was an absolute
And Arizona State
free
was
fall.
the team that was picked last, or one of the lower teams in there, and now they're in the
playoffs.
And
now they're conference champions,
That's
right?
unbelievable.
And they won that conference championship convincingly, right? So again, I think if you're Texas, there are some potentially. We didn't see these matchups being entertaining at the beginning of the year, but having to get through Clemson and then play Arizona State, I love that, and I think that is where the most entertainment is. Tennessee, Ohio State has a shot to be entertaining, sure, but are we going to be surprised if Ryan Day flubs another one? We're not, right? Like, let's be real.
Think about name brands, though, Mike. Though you're having Tennessee playing at Ohio State in the U at night too.
Only matters if it's actually a good game and it's entertaining.
But if it is entertaining, let's say Ohio State wins, then you get that rematch of Oregon-Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, which we've seen a couple times already, but they were both in different conferences.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the no-brainer, but I can hear your side too, because I feel like this year specifically, I don't think there's a prohibitive favorite. It would be Georgia if we had to pick someone. But I don't think you can say Oregon's for sure getting in the semifinal. They can easily lose to Oregon Ohio State or Tennessee, right?
Sure.
Same with Texas. They can lose to Arizona State. In years past, I don't think we would be saying that.
Yeah, I agree. Look, there's definitely some great storylines in this one. First round should be entertaining. I would like to see, and I think you and I talked about this, I would like to see those first round bye teams get a chance to host a playoff game in their home stadiums. I think that would be great for fans and great for college football.
And he's saying that because this is one of the next things we're going to talk about. Boise State getting a first round bye. How on God's green earth is this possible? I don't understand it. They are playing in a weaker conference. I would rather see Texas having 2 SEC schools. I think they deserve it. I think they're a better team. Penn State They barely lost to Oregon and almost had a chance to an interception on that ending drive. They went 11-2. Both of those teams, I think, have a more legitimate argument than Boise State does. Your argument to me is that they won their conference, okay, that had only one other ranked team, UNLV, who just lost their coach, and then they have a Heisman frontrunner in Ashton Jeanty. Is he putting up those numbers, though, in another conference?
Yeah, I do.
You think he's putting up 2,500 yards rushing?
I think
200 yards a game.
Outside of the SEC, yes, I think he has a chance to have an all-time season. This kid is that good. He is that good.
So you don't have a problem with him being
no, I don't. I mean, those are the rules the committee set, right? You won your conference, you're a one-loss team,
and you're ahead of the ACC.
Yeah, right. Like, and so it just is what it is at this point. You may not like it, but they made this. This wasn't a subjective argument for them, for Boise State. They won that first round bye per the rules. So I don't have an issue with it, man. I mean, if you're going to say, if you want their conference to not qualify for that first round bye, I mean, that's a different argument to me. Right. But if you're Boise State, you did what you had to do in terms of wins and losses, which we saw other teams had an opportunity to knock them off that perch, and they didn't get it done.
That is a good point. But I don't like the precedent that we're setting, saying because you win your conference, you should get a first-round bye. That's saying, like, because you win your conference, you should be automatically a number one seed. If you're in the NCAA tournament, there's still 4 Power 4 conferences. Are we saying that all 4 of those, if you win your conference tournament, you get that automatic qualifying bid? Are you getting the number one overall seed? We've seen conference tournament champions be 18-14, 18-13, middle of the pack. That would be a 7 or 8 seed if they didn't win the tournament. So I feel like the same way. Now, I know it's a little bit different in basketball and football, but come on, Mike. They should get an automatic bye.
The issue that you have, Thrift, is with everyone who voted Boise State the number 8 team in the country. Because per the rules, right?
But I'm saying change the rules.
It's the
I don't have a problem with
highest-rated
change the rules.
4 conference champions.
No.
And Clemson is the only one that could knock them off there as a conference champion, and they were a lower-rated top 25 team. Yeah. So if you don't think that Boise State is a top 8 team in the country, which I'm not sure how you can make that argument. Boise State is not a top 10 team right now?
They are a top – I would say they're a fringe top 10 team. What I'm saying is change the rules. I'm not arguing about the voting. I'm saying if you're saying they're number 8, how are they number 4 and at one of those number 1 overall seeds that's getting a bye? We should just keep it the way they see.
So conference champions don't matter.
Yeah.
So conference champions don't matter.
Well, I think we'll ultimately get to that point anyway.
Oh, man. I think
look
that's
how the Big Ten and the SEC. Because
that's got to apply to everybody, though.
Okay. If you're telling me right now, Greg Sankey and the Big Ten commissioner is okay that Boise State is getting a bye over a Texas or a Penn State, you know they're in conversations.
All right with that.
I don't feel like they are.
They are.
I feel like they're getting fired up. They'll be like, let's do our own thing.
All Greg Sankey cares is that he gets 4 teams in the playoffs.
And he only got 3.
Right? Yeah, but they had the opportunity to get 5. He's not. Those teams didn't. I don't think he has a gripe because those teams didn't do what they needed to do.
Right.
Yeah, they did it on their own. It wasn't the committee that kept them out. Right. It was themselves that kept them out. Yeah. And they're not worried about their conference champion not getting in, so they don't really care about whether it's a conference champion from another conference makes it. Their conference champion's making it.
Yeah, and they still have a chance to win a national championship too. All right, last thing, Heisman favorite. Is it Jeanty? Is it the two-way player in Hunter? Do you give it to Gabriel because Oregon's the only undefeated team?
Absolutely not.
But if you look at his stats, no way. It would be the weakest. Going back to Troy Smith and Ohio State, they did this to him because Darren McFadden was the best player in 2006. They gave it to Troy Smith, and he only threw 24 touchdowns that year. But because Ohio State was undefeated and they were number 1 team, they gave it to him. Don't do that this year. It is not Dylan Gabriel, but who would it be for you?
It's Jeanty or it's Travis Hunter, right?
But you've been out on Hunter all year long.
I have.
Even when it was Jalen Milroe was in the discussion.
Yeah. He was never really in the discussion to me. Some people thought that Jalen Milroe was a legit Heisman candidate. Not me. Never got on the Milroe train. Extremely talented. Yeah. But let's be real, there are better players, in college football this year. Look, it's hard to ignore what Jeanty has done this year. And regardless of conference, what he's doing is unprecedented. And so I want people to put on their objectivity hats for a second and just think, right? If it had to do with conference, we'd see more guys breaking 2,000 yards in that conference. Like, This just doesn't happen. You cannot break 2,000 yards and not be talented. Yeah, he's talented. I've talked to head coaches of other programs that feel like he's a rare talent. And so, when in talking to the guys who coach this thing and that are in it, they have a high respect for what Genty is doing. They've watched this film, and but then Travis Hunter. Come on. I mean, look at his PFF grades on both sides of the ball. We haven't seen that in a really long time either. I think the vote will be pretty split between these two. I'm torn. At first, I was diehard Travis Hunter, but Genty has won a percentage of my heart here, man. I think he deserves. I think he deserves serious consideration and should not be discounted because he's playing at Boise State.
If Hunter does not get it, do you know the outcry Deion Sanders is going to have?
Sure.
Smokes.
I think if he loses it to Genty, Deion will be okay.
If he loses it to Gabriel?
Deion is not going to be able to shut up for the next century. Genty is a worthy adversary in this Heisman discussion. I don't think anybody else is, though.
And I honestly think this could be the closest Heisman race. And I know we probably have some other close ones, but I'm thinking about that 2012 year, which was up for grabs. Johnny Manziel ended up winning it. Many people thought it was going to be Manti Te'o and his fake girlfriend on stage, but it wasn't. It was actually Johnny Manziel. I think that we're in that same type of predicament. All right, floor is yours. Shameless plug. War Rapport is where you can find all his great work. Also, Locked On UCF. Tell everybody where they can find you and what you got coming up.
Follow me on Twitter at Mike Gittins. Follow me on Instagram at Mike Gittins _. Again, we're busy. We're busy here. So at the War Rapport on every social media platform, we're bringing you guys lots of great Auburn football content. We're getting ready, Thrift, to head into our one-on-one sit-downs with players. We do that with our partner, Vintage 2298 Restaurant and Butcher Shop, just around the corner from here. And also follow me at Locked On UCF. I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission for 1,000 subscribers before
Where you at
New
now?
Year's. We're at 600 subscribers.
Come
we just
on.
need 4 more. We've been at it less than 2 months. But we appreciate everybody that's supporting over there. They just hired Scott Frost. So, when Auburn hired Freeze, we had a freeze warning. Now we have a frostbite down in Orlando, or frost warning, or whatever you want to call it. Whatever corny moniker you need for that one, that's what we're using there. But like I said, looking forward to seeing what he does down at UCF. I think in the Big 12, he's got a good opportunity. Yep. He's been gifted a second life here as a head coach at the P4 level. So,
and he realizes he probably shouldn't have left but we understood why.
His alma mater,
That was his alma mater. That was a dream job of his. Tom Osborne was his mentor. I understood why he took it, but I think this is a good hire for UCF.
Absolutely.
All right, you heard it. Make sure to follow them on social media. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I got Richard coming on. We're going to talk about college basketball, and the best team resides about 30 minutes, maybe not 30 minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes here from Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC. That's where we're at. It's the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. Unsolicited Hot Take. Thrift Barringer here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC. Be right back after this. Georgia Alabama Sports Live wants to say thank you to one of our presenting sponsors, Buffalo Rock, and their partnership with everything that we do. And without businesses like Buffalo Rock, we wouldn't be able to go cover softball, volleyball games, every type of high school sport you can think of, local college games, and professional. So thank you to those businesses that support us, and specifically Buffalo Rock. And next time you're watching a Georgia Alabama Sports Live broadcast after a nice long day, why not enjoy it with a nice, refreshing Sorry? The best lemon lime soda around. Thank you to Sorry and Buffalo Rock for our partnership on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Football is back, and the only thing that makes it better is some delicious food from Zaxby's. They're a proud sponsor of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And I can tell you that everyone on this team loves their chicken. Get all the favorites, such as their signature chicken sandwich, or try the new chicken finger tacos with your favorite drink. From amazing salads, wings, chicken fingers, and some of the best drinks around, there isn't a better way to enjoy our broadcast without getting some fantastic meals from Zaxby's. Check out the two here in Phoenix City, one off Crawford Road and the other on US 80. Thank you again to Zaxby's for sponsoring Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and make sure you call them for all your catering and tailgating needs this football season. Football is back, and the only thing that makes it better is some delicious food from Zaxby's. They're a proud sponsor of Georgia-Alabama Sports Live. And I can tell you that everyone on this team loves their chicken. Get all the favorites, such as their signature chicken sandwich, or try the new local college games and professional. So thank you to those businesses that support us, and specifically Buffalo Rock. And next time you're watching a Georgia-Alabama Sports Live broadcast after a nice long day, why not enjoy it with a nice, refreshing sorry? The best lemon lime soda around. Thank you to Sorry and Buffalo Rock for our partnership on Georgia-Alabama Sports Live. Georgia-Alabama Sports Live wants to say thank you to one of our presenting sponsors, Buffalo Rock, and their partnership with everything that we do. And without businesses like Buffalo Rock, we wouldn't be able to go cover softball, volleyball games, every type of high school sport you can think of, local college games, and professional. So thank you to those businesses that support us, and specifically Buffalo Rock. And next time you're watching a Georgia-Alabama Sports Live broadcast after a nice long day, why not enjoy it with a nice, refreshing sorry? The best lemon lime soda around. Thank you to Sorry and Buffalo Rock for our partnership on Georgia-Alabama Sports Live.
My name is Quinteria Perry, and this is my CVCC story. I've graduated from CVCC with my associates in medical assistant, and I received my certification from CVCC. The training that I got from CVC and being prepared to come and do clinicals helped tremendously. I started looking at scholarships, and the Ambassador Scholarship was interesting to me because you did events to earn your scholarship and you meet people. My favorite part about my job is meeting patients every day. They will crack me up every day. They make my day better. I would recommend CVCC to anyone that asks because of the scholarships, the teachers, the small stuff that you can't get at a university. They actually take the time out for each student. My name is Quinteria Perry, and this is my CVCC story.
Welcome back. We're still here live from Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC. Get ready to smile. Over 600 cars on the lot, Richard. I don't know if you saw a ton of inventory here. Most dealerships are having a tough time getting inventory. Glynn Smith does not have that problem. They got so many cars. They got such a great staff. Every time we come in here, they're always warm and welcome. We feel like we're part of the family. We come here once a month. And we appreciate everyone at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC, Jared Hudson, Jerry Potter, and everyone else that makes us do what we do and being a presenting sponsor. And then come and see why. We say get ready to smile, Richard, by visiting the website at glynsmith.com. That is glynsmith.com. All right, Richard, great segment we just had with Mike G. Now it's time to talk some college basketball. Both of us, college basketball fanatics.
Love it.
We said we were going to wait till after the tournaments and everything's happened. I'm pulling up the rankings right now. I want you to understand what is happening in the SEC. Because I remember Josh Pate when we were at MPACE, which is the nonprofit organization at Columbus State. This was before Cougar Radio. And he asked me a question because he had a thing called Friday Night Sports Focus. And this is before Josh Pate became who Josh Pate is. This was 13 years ago. He said, why does the SEC basically suck at basketball? This is 2012-2013 year, and the SEC got Florida in, Ole Miss in, and I forgot there was one other team that got in. There was only 3 teams out of the 14 SEC teams, because this is the year that A&M and Missouri both joined. I think Missouri also made it too. Those 3 teams, the only teams that made it. Missouri and Ole Miss were out after the first round, and Florida, really the only contender we had as a 3 seed. They ended up losing to Michigan, who played in the state title that year, and lost in the Elite 8. Since then, Richard, that's the team that made, remember that year, 3 teams got in. We were happy just to even get that many. This is the top 25, and these are the SEC schools ranked. Number 1 is Tennessee. Number 2 is Auburn. Number 5 is Kentucky. Number 7 is Alabama. Number 9 is Florida. That is just in the top 10. You have Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky, Alabama, and Florida. 5 of the top 10 are SEC schools. Let me continue. Oklahoma is 13. There's 6. Then we have A&M 17. That is 7. Ole Miss 19. That is 8. And Mississippi State 25. That is 9. Joe Lunardi has the SEC having 12 teams make the playoff, and that includes Georgia, who's on the bubble this year. What an incredible turnaround, and it shows you that I don't think it has anything to do about geographically. I don't even really think it has to do with the fact that maybe Alabama and the Auburns, they care about football more. That's nonsense. If you put money towards it and you start winning, everyone's going to support your program. And you see these Alabama and Auburn fans, they're just as rabid in basketball as they are in football. So what's your thought on the fact that the SEC 13 years ago got 3 teams in, looking to get 12, which would be the record for most teams in an NCAA tournament?
I think it's plain and simple, Thrift, that football gives a lot of money, and the SEC makes a lot of money in football, and so they have the money and the resource to go and get the best coach. You saw that when Alabama hired Avery Johnson. Now, back then, he got the Nets to an NBA Finals. That was a good hire. And then you have a guy.
He coached the Nets.
He coached the Nets.
Yeah.
But you also have Nate Oates, who's a great coach, coming in. You know what Bruce Pearl did at Tennessee.
John Calipari.
Now John Calipari at Arkansas, which got a huge upset against Michigan.
Rick Barnes, Tennessee.
Rick Barnes. And then now Georgia with Mike White. Georgia is a team that is not getting a whole lot of respect. They are 8-1, and their only loss was to Marquette. And they might have a couple of votes for the top 25. I think in the coaches poll, they've got some votes, but I don't even think they have a single vote. And that's an 8-1 team. It's because the money that's pouring in from college football, they're able to pay for these facilities, and there's a lot of talent in these SEC schools, not just in Kentucky and Florida, because I remember growing up, the basketball schools in the SEC were Kentucky, Arkansas in the 90s with Nolan Richardson,
Florida
with Billy Donovan, and that was it. But now you're seeing Auburn; they are a powerhouse in basketball. You're seeing, Georgia having a good season this year. Alabama went to the Final Four last year. I mean, so yeah, there's riches in the SEC, and that is why the SEC is the best college basketball conference right now.
And that leads to an even bigger conversation. The SEC is already the best baseball. Have you seen the national championships in the last 15
Tennessee?
years? I mean, SEC has been on a tear. And then let's not even get started on football. Now, I know this is a little bit of a down year in terms of, having a prohibitive favorite, but I still think Georgia is the favorite to win it all. SEC is the best conference there. College basketball, South Carolina, LSU won back-to-back national championship in women's. I just looked at the women's rankings. There's 7 SEC schools. SEC is now going from only thing the SEC cares about is football to now they dominate at almost every single sport they have. It is really remarkable. I don't really want to get to that right now. I do want to go back to college basketball. If you got to see who your best team is right now, it's got to be one of those SEC teams.
Oh, yeah.
Tennessee, is it Auburn? Is it Iowa State? Is it Duke, who already has 2 losses, had a close call against Incarnate Word last night? Who's your best team right now?
Well, it's not Tennessee. I know they got to the Elite Eight last year. Dalton Knecht, that's a huge loss. He's now on the Lakers. I think it's Auburn. I think Janai Broome is a candidate for Naismith Player of the Year. I think that Kansas was the number 1 team, and then they had just 2 unexcusable losses to Creighton and Missouri. I mean, you're dropping out of the top 10.
And by the way, you made mention of Missouri, and I'm going to let you continue on there, but Missouri is a team that got votes.
Back in.
I had mentioned Arkansas, who just got another big win.
Huge upset over Michigan.
So they may be ranked. That could be 10 teams the SEC has in the college basketball rankings. Unbelievable. Go back to your point.
Yeah, and I do want to say, coaching does matter in the SEC. I think that Mark Pope was a great hire to replace John Calipari. I know the Kentucky fans were getting a little frustrated. Another first-round loss by John Calipari, this time to Oakland, which NC State ended up beating to get to the Final Four. But, Kentucky lost to St. Peter's a couple years ago. So I think that Mark Pope, there's really not a whole lot of expectations because he's coming in to take over a program, and he's got resources, and Kentucky's got talent. I know that John Calipari took DJ Wagner with him. He's now at Arkansas. But Mark Pope, he's a good coach, and I think that Kentucky could surprise some people. Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
That's what I mean.
my best team in the country is by far Auburn. They've had the toughest schedule. They've beaten Houston. They've beaten the number 3 team, Iowa State. They've beaten a pretty good Memphis team.
Pretty good Memphis team.
They've had the toughest schedule. Their only loss was to Duke. And in that Duke game, Richard, their freshman, Evans, who had been struggling, hit 6 threes in that first half.
Incredible.
He only hits half of those. Auburn wins that game. They only lost by 5, and Auburn would be undefeated right now. I think Jedi Broom is right now, I think he's got a pretty substantial lead over anyone else in winning the Naismith Player of the Year. He's putting up 20 and 12. He had a quiet night against Duke and still put up 20 and 12 against them. I can hear the argument with Tennessee. I really can't hear the argument with Iowa State, considering the fact that Auburn beat them on a neutral court. But Iowa State's a really good program. I'm telling you right now, as good as Auburn is playing, this SEC, Florida's undefeated right now, man. And Florida is really, really good. Coach Golden, by the way, he was a product and on the staff of Bruce Pearl a few years ago before he now has turned Florida into a contender, and he's actually doing a better job than Mike White. Made the tournament last year. You got Clayton Jr. putting up 18.4, Martin at 15.2, and then Condon, the forward, at putting up 13 and 7 with close to 2 blocks a game. Florida's a really good team. Arkansas, who's not ranked right now, got a win against Michigan. They only got 2 losses, and Georgia still got 21 votes. Yep. It is so up for grabs. I honestly think that the SEC winner could have 7 or 8 losses this year, and I still think they should be a number 1 seed because how many good teams are in the conference?
We didn't even talk about Texas, who got to the Sweet 16 last year.
There you go. So that would be 13 teams. So right now, Lenardi does not have.
By the way, the worst team in the SEC, South Carolina, with a 6-3 record.
Yeah.
Every team has got at least 8 wins.
I cannot wait for the conference play to start, man. It's going to be a lot of.
They're going to cannibalize each other.
Yeah. I do think the one thing Tennessee and Auburn specifically have to their advantage is they're really good at one specific thing. Auburn is really good at offense. They have 10 guys that can, really 9. I don't count Chris Moore as a guy that can give you buckets, but they have 9 guys that can score and really create their own shot, which is a tough thing to do when things get tough down the stretch. Tennessee is the best defensive team, or second best behind Duke. I think both of those teams, if you're telling me who the favorites going in, would be them. But if you look at the schedule, I mean, every team's going to have to go on the road and play some team that is going to be competitive this year, man. And I just can't wait to see how the talk about who your number 1 seeds were right now, projecting in the future. I'm going to have 1 SEC, Auburn. And then I'm going to have 2. I'm going to have Tennessee. And I would not be surprised if we had 3. Okay, I want to go back. 2011, Big East had 11 teams get in, but they weren't as dominant as that 08-09. Do you remember that year? Sheem the Beat, UConn. Yeah. You had Landry Fields and, oh my gosh, now I'm thinking of, forget the big man's name that was a power forward, that undersized power forward.
Jaleel Okafor?
No, not Jaleel Okafor. For Pittsburgh back in 08-09. I'm going to have to think about that.
Remember that.
I'm going to have to think about that here in a minute.
Because Jamie Dixon was the coach.
Sam Young was the wing. Anyway, the Big East ended up having 11 teams that got in. They had 3 number 1 seeds. The number 1 overall seed was Terrence Samuels and Rick Pitino's Louisville Cardinals, who lost in the Elite 8. The other one was UConn and Pittsburgh. All of them made the Elite 8, and UConn made to the Final 4. I think that could be the SEC this year. We have not seen a conference have 3 number 1 seeds. And I guess I'm not thinking about it. I don't think the ACC had 3 number 1 seeds. Yes, they did in 2019. They had Virginia, Duke, and North Carolina in 2019. So I guess that would be the last time. So 08, 09, Big East, 2019, ACC. I think the SEC could do that this year, man.
I think that there's a possibility the SEC could get 3 number 1 seeds, but
who would be that third for you?
They're going to look
Kentucky?
at the record. I actually think that the number 1 seeds are going to be Tennessee and Auburn. I think Kentucky, their record might not reflect like their strength of schedule. They're going to look at like maybe an Oregon who's right now undefeated. They might have a very impressive record in the Big Ten. There's a possibility that Oregon could get a number 1 seed. Marquette. Right now, Marquette in the Big East can be a number 1 seed. I think
Alabama could be a number 1 seed. We didn't even talk about them. They made the Final 4 last year. Oklahoma is the only undefeated team with Florida in the SEC right now. So I don't know, man. I would say Tennessee and Auburn. I would say maybe Kansas in the Big 12. And then if I had to pick another team, I would pick an ACC team. I'd probably pick Duke because I think Cooper Flag is the real deal.
But usually Joe Lunardi does not come out with his bracketology until January. So we kind of get a picture, not just of the number one seeds, all the projected seeds and the bubble teams. I know it's still early. We haven't even played conference play. I know that Georgia Tech played North Carolina. There was a conference game there.
Yeah.
How excited are you about this weekend? You got Auburn taking on Ohio State in the Holiday Hoops game. Georgia's taking on Grand Canyon that went to the second round of the NCAA tournament. And Georgia's 8-1. I think Georgia wins out in December, and they go into SEC play 13-1. I think that, but Georgia is still going to be a borderline tournament NIT team. I think once they get to SEC play, I think they start losing games.
It's been 14 years since an SEC team has won a national championship. That was Kentucky in 2012. Remember, Kentucky lost in 2014 to UConn. In 2015, they were undefeated, lost in Wisconsin. And Auburn made the Final Four and could have won the national title if they would have called double dribble against Virginia in 2019. Alabama made it last year, but we have not seen an SEC team win a national championship since that Kentucky team that had Anthony Davis and Terrence Jones, Michael K. Gilchrist, Marcus Teague, just loads and loads of talent. I literally was just watching that game they had against Indiana, one of my favorite tournament games of all time. Indiana, Jordan Holes, Will Sheehy, Cody Zeller, Christian Wofford, Victor Oladipo taking on that Kentucky team. It was a lot of fun watching that.
Those are the days.
And that's what the nerd I am. But I think this is the drought ends this year. I really do think that. I'm looking at other teams. Let's throw the SEC out. We've talked about how good they are. Right. What are some teams from other conferences? Obviously, you got to put Duke in there because Cooper Flag is the best player in the country with him and Janai Broome. Another team, Gonzaga. I still think you always got to count Gonzaga in.
You can never count out Gonzaga.
Not as talented as those teams that made the national titles in 2017 and then in 2021. But I would still put them in there. I would say Kansas. They were number one team for a majority of this year. They always have a point in the season when they start losing, and they got Hunter Dickinson again, who's another chance to win a Player of the Year. Who would be some other teams? You like Marquette?
I do like Marquette. Marquette out of the Big East. I think UConn's down. I don't see UConn three-peating, even though I believe in Dan Hurley. I think there's a reason why
they're making the play of the tournament.
They're making the tournament. There's a reason why Dan Hurley turned down the Lakers, because UConn's a better job, and he could groom talent. I mean, they lose Donovan Clingan, they lose Stephon Castle. I mean, the year before, they lost Jordan Hawkins. Yep. So they have lost talent, and they seem to reload. People want to play for Coach Hurley, but I think that Marquette is going to be that team. Shaka Smart just is a phenomenal coach. I do like Duke with Cooper Flag. And I think Oregon's going to be a very interesting team. And Purdue without Zach Edey, how is Purdue going to be this year? I think that Purdue is going to take a step back. But is there like a mid-major team besides Gonzaga? Because they don't feel like a mid-major team. In fact, did you know that Gonzaga is going to be in the new Pac-12 when they actually create the conference?
So. They probably should have already been doing that. This problem is they don't really have anything in terms of football program that can be relevant to the Pac-12, but they should have been in the Pac-12 before the Pac-12 dispersed and became what they are right now. UConn's still ranked right now. Maybe San Diego State. Remember that team made the national title?
Steve Fisher, yeah. They were a 5 seed. His assistant.
Yes.
His assistant on Michigan. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Brian.
Brian something.
Maybe we can look that up here, Justin.
I don't know how many times I watched that Fab 530 for 30.
I'm looking at it right now. I don't see, and there's really not a lot of teams that are not in the Power 5. I'm looking right now at the teams that are not in a Power 4 conference. Marquette, but we consider the Big East.
We consider Big East a major conference.
But if you want to do that, Marquette, Gonzaga, Houston's in the Big 12. San Diego State. That's 3 teams in the top 25 that are not in a P4 conference right now. I'm with you. It's a hard year to pick from that.
And I think the coach's name of San Diego State is Brian Dutcher. but he is the longtime assistant with Steve Fisher. He was under Steve Fisher when they had the Fab Five in the early 90s.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, I'm looking at the Wooden Award, or Naismith Player of the Year favorites. Hunter Dickinson right now going into tonight is the favorite. R.J. Davis, both of them are plus 800, so they're both the favorites going in. R.J. Davis did not have a good game against Auburn. Auburn smoked UNC, and UNC, even though Davis has had a good year, UNC's not had a great start. Mark Sears, Cooper Flagg are the next. Janai Broom is plus 5,000, all the way at the bottom. I don't know how this is possible. Yeah, I would take that, and this is from a Vegas insider right now. I don't. Let me look. I'm gonna look from something from 8 days ago on Wooden Award favorites. Other than that one, looking at going into tonight, Cooper Flagg, Cam Jones, Janai Broom is up there. So it depends on the site that you're looking at, but I would have to say Broom should be the favorite right now, not Flagg or Cam Jones, who's having a great year from Marquette. Who would be your player of the year? It's obviously Janai Broom if you had to be asked. Right now, first quarter of the season, right?
Well, I do think it's Janai Broom, but I would not sleep on Mark Sears. I think that Alabama, who got to the Final Four last year, they could get there again this year. But I think they're going to have to get through Auburn. How is that going to be, that matchup between Alabama and Auburn?
Yeah.
And Hunter Dickinson, I mean, that's pretty much just Kansas has been like one of the top teams in college basketball, and playing under Bill Self, you know that Hunter Dickinson is going to put up big numbers.
And I will tell you, I can't wait for this year, because we're going to do round by round, pick by pick, and we're going to have a bracket for, what is it called?
I didn't even see if Arizona was Arizona's in the Big 12 now.
Yeah.
So how excited is that? We can see Arizona and Kansas
Unbelievable.
in like a Big 12 championship.
It is going to be a lot of fun this year. Houston also in that as well. It's really good. All right, let's move on, and let's talk just for a few minutes on the NFL, and then I do want to talk about Max Fried. Take a quick break, and we'll come back and wrap it up with a few things Georgia Alabama Sports Live very quickly, locally, that's going on. Let's go into the NFL. The Falcons. There's no doubt you have to start Kirk Cousins. I mean, you have to start Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold. You are paying Kirk Cousins more money than his replacement, who outplayed him 5 touchdowns to 0 for Kirk Cousins, 0 picks for Darnold, 2 for Kirk Cousins. That's 8 in the last 4 games. He has been atrocious. He has single-handedly cost you multiple games. At this point, I think Tampa Bay's a better team. Now, if you look at the games coming up, Falcons should be favored in every game except for Washington.
Yeah.
So right now, the schedule plus already having 2 wins already over Tampa Bay, Atlanta's probably still going to win the division. But man, I don't want to win the division this way. And if you are going to win the division, why not let Michael Penix start? What a atrocious season for the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, Thrift. They play the Raiders Monday night. Guess who might start for the Raiders on Monday night? Desmond Ritter.
Yes, I know.
I'm not saying it, but I know that the Falcons are favored. They should win that game. But Desmond Ritter, if there's, you talk about somebody with a chip on their shoulder, it's got something to prove. Because he single-handedly cost the Falcons at least 6 games last year. Because I went back and I watched all those games. That he just completely blew the game. Like, he was the reason why the Falcons lost. I mean, Kirk Cousins is responsible for maybe a couple of them this year. But Desmond Ritter, there's a reason why he's out of Atlanta, because Arthur Smith just was too loyal to him. Now he's in Oakland because Aiden O'Connell is out for the season. I think Gardner Minshew's banged up. So I've been reading reports that Desmond Ritter might start. We've got a storyline.
Yeah.
That's a huge storyline that Desmond Ritter is facing the Falcons.
Huge storyline indeed on that, and can't wait to see what happens this upcoming week. If you tell me right now, Richard, now that we got you on, we've had you on periodically, who is your Super Bowl pick? I'm still saying Lions and Bills.
I like that.
I know that the Bills just lost in probably the game of the year against the Rams this past weekend. I don't believe in Philly because they got turmoil between A.J. Brown. They're 11-2, but turmoil between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. So I don't like that. And then obviously Philadelphia comes up short in the playoffs. I'm going Detroit and probably going to be Minnesota, I would say, in that Minnesota or Green Bay in that conference championship for the NFC. For the AFC, I would not be shocked if Pittsburgh finds a way to make it to the conference championship, but I'm going to stick with my pick of Lions and Bills. I'm not wavering, and my MVP is Josh Allen, and I don't think it's close. He's been the best quarterback this year, and I don't think anyone should even argue that. Now that Henry's kind of slowed down a little bit, Barkley's had a great year, but it's just the turmoil with the Eagles, and they're not giving it to a running back. It's obviously Josh Allen.
Lions and Bills is the Super Bowl that I want to see. It would be the equivalent of the Cubs-Red Sox in the World Series. Because I want to see one of these franchises win a championship.
Cubs-Indians, so we had a 2016,
yes,
remember?
Exactly.
Indians trying to get their first, Cubs trying to get their first. That's
exactly.
what we'd be getting.
And
these are two fan bases that had fans that would wear bags over their heads.
Yes.
They were so bad.
But I think, and I saw a meme on this on social media, like, America wants to see Lions and Bills, we're probably going to get Chiefs and Eagles. And I saw that and I laughed, but then I thought...
I don't think the Eagles, I'm not believing in that. I think it'll be more Chiefs
The
Lions.
Kansas City Chiefs are the luckiest team in the NFL.
Another break.
Week by week, the breaks. Now the kicker is hitting the upright and it's going in.
Have you ever seen...
I have never seen a team so lucky. And... guess what? Did you know that...
they say rather be lucky than good.
Better. Yeah. Did you know that Kadarius Toney got cut? Guess who's probably going to sign him off waivers? The Kansas City Chiefs, because he got a big punt return in that Super Bowl against the Eagles, even though he had a bunch of drops.
Yes.
This is what the Chiefs do.
They thought he was going to be the next Tyreek.
Yeah. It's the Chiefs culture.
Yeah, I'm going to say Chiefs, Bills in the conference championship. I'm just not ready to believe in Russell Wilson, but I would be not shocked if Pittsburgh comes out of it. I think the AFC is a little bit more up for grabs than the NFC is. If the Lions don't win it, it's a huge upset.
It is.
I'm not ready to believe in Minnesota. I think they are the second best team over Philadelphia. And if they don't shore up this A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts thing, I'm worried about Philly. I know they're on a 9-game winning streak right now, but I'm just not ready to firmly believe in them. And another team that really, if they come out of there, they come out of nowhere. I'm going to let you pick one, and I'm going to pick one. All right, so I'm going to let you go first and see who would be that team that would be like, that we're not talking about the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Bills, Lions, Eagles, and Vikings. Those are the 6 teams that we think have the best odds on to win a championship. Outside of those 6, who would be? It don't matter from either conference. Just pick one.
The 49ers.
Jesus.
All right, hear me out. Seattle.
Is that a homer pick right now or what?
Right now, tomorrow, the 49ers play the Rams. They win that game, they're 7-7.
And guess who my pick is?
What's your pick?
The Rams. So I guess that game tomorrow is going to decide which one of our sleeper teams is going to be making it.
I could see a scenario where Seattle, which they have to play Green Bay and Minnesota. Right now they're 8-5. They could free fall, lose all their games. 49ers end up maybe winning that division at 9-8.
But is
sneaking into the
McCaffrey coming back?
McCaffrey might be back for the postseason. He is not out for the season. He's on IR. And his injury is about a 6-week recovery. So he's not out for the season.
It was good to have a Kittle sighting last week with over 150 yards receiving.
I'll tell you what, I didn't know what to think about that win against the Bears. I just, maybe they were playing a
Bears are poop right now.
At Green Bay, at Buffalo. I mean, that would be a tough schedule even if they were fully healthy.
Yeah.
And they got blown out in both those games, and now people want to jump ship on the 49ers. But I heard a sports talk radio host talk about nobody wants to play the 49ers when they're completely healthy. And if they
but that's the problem, though. They haven't been completely healthy, though.
Yeah, you get Trent Williams, you get Nick Bosa, Drake Greenlaw's coming back from IR. That is a team, if they sneak in the playoffs, they'll be the 4 seed. They get a home game. I could see them upsetting Philly in the divisional round.
So right now they have Rams at home. They have at Dolphins, Lions at home, and Cardinals.
They can win all those games.
Those are the last 4 games for the Rams. And I'm going to bring in the tiebreaker, Chrissy, here in just a second if he can hop on. Nope, we didn't even got the mic set up for him.
No, Chris.
I was going to have him be the tiebreaker. San Fran, New York, Arizona, and Seattle. At San Fran, at New York Jets, dumpster fire, and then Arizona, Seattle at home. I'm saying Rams win all 4 of those. They finished 11-6, and I would not be surprised now that Cooper Kupp's back. Puka Nacua. I could see them making an upset. So Rams and 49ers we'll decide who's got the best sleeper team tomorrow.
I do think this is going to be a very exciting game. That game was wild against the Bills. Going back and forth, that's Sean McVay preparing for, it doesn't matter what defense you throw at me. I've got the quarterback and I got the home field advantage. Matthew Stafford still has something to prove. And when you have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams, that's a hard team to beat. I've always been critical of the Rams because their O-line kind of suffered when they traded the farm for Matthew Stafford just to get their one Super Bowl. I kind of felt like, yeah, this Rams team is going to be a
It's
doormat.
worked out because he's still balling right now.
It's working out. So, yeah, it's going to be a good game tomorrow. I can't wait.
That is our NFL talk, college basketball, and we'll wrap it up with Max Fried. I don't have a problem with him going to the Yankees. I don't know why anybody else is making a big deal about it.
Braves fans,
you want to pay him that much money? He was just injured. He had a great season, but let the Mets and Yankees outbid themselves for these players. You see, if you're the Braves, you won a World Series without even your best player. I don't think it's about having the most talented teams in terms of contracts and when you look at their ratings on MLB The Show. I think it has to do with about who has the best team chemistry, who has the best pieces that all fit in as a cohesive group together, makes a championship team.
When the Yankees play the Braves at Truist Park, the fans should give Max Fried a standing ovation because he was the key catalyst for them winning the World Series. That game 6, 7 scoreless innings. Remember that first inning where the runner was trying to beat him to the bag and he stepped on his ankle, and then he got out of the inning and he just pumping his fist. That is an iconic moment.
Hope it's good. It's good.
We are good. We are good, and it does happen sometimes.
All the time.
That is an iconic moment that will go down for Braves history.
But that would be.
And he should be beloved. Like we cherish Freddie Freeman. We didn't like the fact that he went to the Dodgers. Kind of the same situation. He's going to be wearing the pinstripes. It's going to look a little different, but you don't want to pay that much money. $218 million for Max Fried when you've got Spencer Strider, Ian Anderson's going to be coming back from injury. I mean, you've got A.J. Smith-Shawver. You got some young pitchers in waiting, which we might see in a Columbus Cleanstones uniform at Synovus Park.
But I hear the saying of, like, he played just as good as Chris Sale. Why not just go ahead and keep him? Eventually, Braves, you're going to have to spend money unless you're going to get rid of Acuna. And maybe this is a team that thinks they don't have to spend as much money. They believe in their farm system and believe in it putting it together. But I'm just not as big of an uproar as everyone else is. We were supposed to talk about this with Mike G. I want to move on from baseball. I'm making one statement and then we're going to break. I don't know if this Bill Belichick thing's going to work at UNC. I'm not. And then now he made UNC say head coach in waiting is his son, Steven.
Oh, boy.
Now, I honestly think Steven is better equipped to take on. I know someone said that he gave a Bible, 400 pages of infrastructure on how he's going to build this. I'm not saying he's not detail-oriented, but how he handled himself with the modern athlete was one of the reasons why he was pushed out the door at the Patriots. He's now going to do it with 18-year-olds. Maybe he gets a great staff that has to do that. He don't have to worry about that. He's just overseeing everything. Maybe that's what they're buying into. I don't see it, but maybe I'm going to be proven wrong. They just tried it with Mac Brown.
Thrift, are you trying to tell me that you're going to tell a college student no days off? Or do your job?
Yeah. Do your job, and they're going to say, I'll go do my job for
then the press
another
conference
school.
is, we're moving on to Wake Forest. Yeah, no more questions. No. Okay.
There's Richard's reel right there. That's a reel right there. We'll put it up for you. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work either. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, wrap it up with some things that's going on around locally. It's the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. Welcome back to the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. It's Thrift Barringer, Richard Holdridge. Had a lot of fun here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Okay, let's go ahead and get into what's happening locally. Last night we did 4 basketball games. CVCC girls went down to the wire, won in overtime. So congratulations on them. Good win for Coach Joe Richardson's team. But for all the other local teams, we had a lot of blowouts. Pacelli boys and girls won in blowouts. Spencer boys and girls won in blowouts against Jordan. And Harris County boys and girls, Harris County girls, won in a blowout over Carver girls. And Carver boys won in a blowout over Harris County boys. So a lot of blowouts last night, but we're starting to kind of take shape on who are the best basketball teams in our area. And we'll have another Georgia Alabama Sports Live rankings coming up this Sunday.
Yeah, and we had plenty of action last night. Northside got their first loss in girls basketball as Shaw avenged their loss from last week. How about the Kindred Cherokees? Coach Andre Dye, 8-1 as they defeat Pike County. Russell County got the sweep over Columbus. Coach Battle's team's 8-2. The Russell County girls, they are now 6-6, I believe. And then we just got some great action that's happening this Friday with Hardaway taking on Harris County, Spencer Brookstone. Northside's taking on Columbus. It's really a great time to be a basketball fan. Can't wait for these tournaments that are happening. And Georgia Alabama Sports Live is going to be there.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun seeing that kind of showcase in Border Wars coming up. Tomorrow we got the Sports Visions Awards Luncheon. That's at 11:30. You can watch it on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and you can also watch it on Sports Vision. So we can't wait. That's 18th annual. I think he said it was 18 after he counted it up. 18 speakers. Jeremiah Cassile will be the guest speaker for tomorrow. Friday, we got a triple header. You're going to be at Spencer and Brookstone. We got Pacelli, girls only, taking on Griffin on Friday. And then the other game that we're going to be doing is
Hardaway in here.
Yeah, Hardaway at Harris County. Rick Beach and Chris will be up there for that. That is oh my goodness. That's a big time battle. That's a battle.
Sure is.
Top 2 teams, 2 of the top 3 teams, girls wise. Boys wise, Harris County's having a struggle year, but Hardaway's been a scrappy bunch, and they're right in there in our picks. And then on Saturday, you're going to be there at the archery competition for Calvary.
Right.
We're going to be covering it best we can. We don't know how that's going to entail, but we're going to give you some type of coverage and just let you know that we're there and what's going on at that fantastic event that's going to be held on Saturday. And then Sunday, we got the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. Next week, we'll have Harris County Jonesboro, and I know we'll have maybe one other game, but all our focus is going to be on that Muskogee County Showcase. 3 games on Friday night, and then we have 8 games on Saturday, 11 games total, and it's going to encompass every team except Jordan boys, every Muskogee County team except the Jordan boys and the Carver girls and the Carver boys. Okay?
Yeah.
So those teams will not be in it, but everyone else will be. It is not a tournament. It's just a one-game showcase for all these teams to play against teams outside of the Muskogee County area. So we'll be at Columbus State. It's going to be a lot of fun. 3 on Friday, 8 on Saturday. And then they have the FCA kind of all-star game.
Like North versus South. You got all the teams from LaGrange.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing all the teams in Columbus.
Coach Kegler's one of the coaches there.
Coach Brunson.
That's going to be at Otis Spencer Stadium at 12 o'clock. So go out there and show support for them. Thank you to Jonathan Carasori and FCA for their support of what we do on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. So we appreciate them, and we'll try to be there if we can. So thank y'all so much. And then Border Wars. After we do the showcase, I want everyone, this is kind of for everybody to know, we won't have anything going on until Border Wars. So over Christmas break, we may have a show here or there that we're going to be doing. But the next time you'll see us live covering a game will be after the showcase, December 27th and 28th from Glenwood. We're getting Glenwood and we're getting Calvary boys. So we're getting 6 games. 3 games each day that we will be trying to cover there, and maybe a few in between. We and Richard were deciding if
we might throw in Elise Scott.
Maybe Elise Scott, maybe not. I haven't really decided. So that's what we got coming up here on the break. If you're a sponsor or a business that would like to sponsor Georgia Alabama Sports Live, you see how much stuff that we do. We can get you in with affordable packages. All you got to do is DM the Facebook page or reach out to me, Thrift Barringer, for more information. Any other final thoughts? By the way, Columbus High is playing tomorrow
for a right to go to the state championship, right? Or is that
Actually, they're playing Long County in flag football right now as we speak.
So you should be watching that. Can't believe you didn't give us an update yet.
Well,
You didn't have your phone.
trying to find it on the NFHS network, and Long County doesn't have it on the NFHS network.
You wouldn't have to worry about that on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I tell you that.
But it's in Ludwiki,
So we're cheering on the Blue Devils because
we
if
are.
they win, the girls team will play in the state on Monday in the Mercedes-Benz, and then Carver will play on Tuesday against Burke County. We can't wait for that. From Richard Holdridge, any other?
One more thing, Midland and Aaron Cone in the middle school championship tonight.
That's playing right now.
Playing right now.
And
the battle for Midland.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if Aaron Cone wins, Aaron Cone and Calvary were the two
They need
best
to play.
players.
Come on, let's make it
Everybody
happen.
wants that matchup.
Let's make it
Somebody
happen.
make that happen.
Please,
Coach
let's make it
Brunson,
happen.
Shout out to you. Stephon Lawrence of Aaron Cone. Shout out to you. Thank you to Mike G. Thank you to Jerry. Thank you to everyone here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to Richard. And we want to say see you next time on the Georgia